it's just like simple, but maybe boring sometimes. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, hey, why did I start this in the first place? Am I really going to quit just because this is boring, or because I don't want to eat another vegetable, or because sometimes working out isn't the first thing on the top of my list? Like, no.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Monday live chat. If you're in Facebook, if you're not in Facebook, this is coming to you via YouTube or our podcast. Welcome. We have
Hi.
myself, Jaleesa, and Tom. We're talking about quitting. And
Talking about quitting.
Jaleesa said, I want to talk about helping people quit quitting. And that's what it's going to be. We're going to help you to quit quitting. Do you have any, like, this was your idea, Jaleesa? You started off.
Just put it all on me.
We could just start by, let's just say quit quitting and then stop the podcast.
Yeah.
We're good.
Good to go.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I think like this is an important topic, I think in all aspects of your health, but I think particularly when it comes to nutrition, I so often get people that come in who have literally done like 75 different programs. And I believe that oftentimes they probably could have been successful previous to coming to see us if they had just stuck with something. But I think the problem with, I guess, having so many options with programs and so many fads out there is that everything always convinces you that there's something that's going to work better or faster for you. And so people quit and move on to the next thing, when in reality, if you just like stuck to one thing that you think like has a solid foundation and like decent habits and actually some good points and things that are helping you, if you just stuck to that one thing, you'd probably be way further ahead than a lot of people are by the time they get to like a program where someone will pretty much force you to keep doing it and not let you quit, right? And so I think that and we talked about it a little before we started recording, but like a huge part of that is just to be able to have a good understanding of what realistic expectations are before you start a program. Because if you go in with unrealistic expectations, you're going to assume that that program is garbage or that there's something wrong with you, as opposed to it just actually taking time. So yeah, I think that is one of the biggest like keystones that I am really passionate about, and like things that I think people need to have a better understanding of is just there's probably nothing wrong with you. You're probably not doing it wrong. The program's probably okay, well, depending on what you're doing, but nothing worthwhile happens in 30 days. Sometimes maybe 60 days, probably 90 days, but like we just need to get people to understand that it's going to take a little while and that's okay. Yeah. And to do whatever we can to help them not quit in the meantime.
Yeah. And actually, as you're talking, that got me to thinking, we've had our coaching service in the gym for over a year now, the new coaching service, a mentorship service. And I was working with someone virtually, and we had this epiphany. He wasn't seeing the results he wanted. And what we figured out is it's not about the perfect program. It expedites the process if you have a really good nutrition program, a really good exercise program. But what it's more importantly is helping or becoming, like if we're the coach, we're the guide, we're helping someone become the person that takes the consistent action regardless of the external circumstances. That's the goal. Right? As soon as you step into the person that just does the work, that just stays consistent to the process and understands, like you said, Jaleesa, it's going to be difficult, right? Anything worthwhile, you're going to meet resistance. If you quit every time you meet resistance, you're this analogy I thought of, you might just be one hill away. So I remember when we were driving on vacations as kids, and oftentimes we go to Saskatchewan. So there's not a lot of hills, but there would be some long hills where you could just see the road. It just keep going. And then what's that? A slope. Yeah. A gradual slope. Tom's from Saskatchewan. Both my parents are from Saskatchewan, so Jaleesa's too. So what we always ask is, are we there yet? And I remember our parents saying, well, it just might be a couple more hills or this hill. And that's often what we have to think about in our terms of fitness. We don't know what hill is going to be the next hill for us to reach the results we had set out for. Just know that you're going in the right direction and you'll eventually get there if you keep driving. What you don't want to do is stop, turn around, and go home, because you're going to do way more work and be way further away from that result you could have had.
Yeah.
I had a client this morning that kind of said like something similar. Well, it ties in, I guess, but she was like, you know what? I was like, how are you doing today? She's like, well, you know what? I didn't feel like coming today, but I still did. Like, hey, there you go. And this is like right around where, and she's in the program, our coaching program, transformation program. And this is probably week 3 or week 4, where I find a lot of people that kind of are over that honeymoon phase, so to speak. And it's now into just doing the work consistently, day in, day out. And I was like, honestly, like you showing up is over half the battle, because now that you're here, what are you going to do? Go home? Like now that you're here, like you said, when you get close to the top of the hill, what are you going to do? Turn around and go back the other way? No, there's no way you're going to do that. You've already put yourself into that environment, surrounded yourself with all the workout gear, the person who's there to keep you accountable. Like the likelihood of you walking out that door is slim to none. And so that's just from the, I guess, fitness side of things, but that spills over into the nutrition side of things well, right? Like if you surround yourself with good, healthy, nutritious food, and you put yourself in an environment to make those decisions easier when you do meet resistance, it's going to be that much easier to stick with it moving forward.
Well, and I think like time and time again, we know that the most consistent clients are the clients that can do boring things for a long time, right? Is people who understand that like the new shiniest, brightest, sexiest plan is not the one that's going to get you the results. You're going to get results with the one that you can stick to for the longest, right? And so I think that people need to understand that it is doing those like really mundane, seemingly simple but hard things to do, like showing up every day, or like prepping veggies every day, or like it's not complicated. It's just like simple but maybe boring sometimes, and that's okay. You can still do it in a way that like makes it fun and exciting with like the people you're around, or just always tying it to your end why of like, hey, why did I start this in the first place? Am I really going to quit just because this is boring, or because I don't want to eat another vegetable, or because sometimes working out isn't the first thing on the top of my list? Like, no, you're going to keep going. You're going to do it. You will succeed if you can stick to it. And I think that's a really important thing, because I think so many people are just like perpetual, this sounds so bad, but like perpetual quitters of just like, well, I started this, but then I quit, and I started this, but then I quit, and I started this, and then I quit. It's like, well, if you just stuck to one thing, you'd probably have met your goal like 3 years ago, but you just got to stick to it.
Yeah. And this sounds harsh. It's not harsh, but life doesn't care if you don't want to work out, right? You have to do the things to be healthy. It doesn't play favorites. You have to consistently make deposits. And that's why I like the idea of deposits, right? You're making deposits each and every day, right? All the important areas of your life, mentally, physically, spiritually, relationally, professionally. Like you're just doing the work. And we're not absent from this either with these struggles, right? There's some days where I don't want to work out, and I don't want to do, because this doesn't just apply to working out. This can be a professional sense. This can be relationally. There's days where I don't want to do the thing I know I should do that's going to lead to the result that I know I want. So then what you should do on those days is do 1 or 2 things that you know you can attack, that you know you can take action on, and just do them. And then you can check it off as a win, right? Yeah. Just do the 1 or 2 things. Just find something, even if it's not in terms of exercise. Do that thing. You'll gain momentum. You'll gain confidence, and that'll keep moving forward. And that's where you change the perspective and just continue to do the work day in and day out. And eventually you'll get to the spot where you want to go, because either you're moving towards that goal or you're going to start regressing to where you started.
Yeah.
I know you brought up a good point at the beginning, or a good quote, I guess, or a good saying, right? Like, and I wanted to throw that in here too, is that reason why most people quit either is because they're disappointed, they don't see the results, it gets boring, whatever. But disappointment is the difference between your expectations and reality, right? So if that we need to bridge that gap somehow. So either your reality's got to change, or the expectations of how quickly you can have to have these results happen needs to usually elongate, right? We need to make that either longer, or you need to reduce the end goal, or how big the end goal is. If it was to lose 30 pounds in 30 days, maybe we need to, either extend that out and be more realistic about how long that's going to take to lose 30 pounds, or shorten up the time, or shorten up the amount of weight that you want to lose in 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
So that, setting those expectations and making them realistic, I think, is hard, because you see all the advertising and stuff for programs that promise a lot very quickly. And that's what hooks you in. That's that shiny object thing where Julie's was talking about, jumping from program to program to program. But yeah, if you had stuck with something that was maybe a little bit more slower but consistent, you would have done it right the first time. And that's kind of what we want this transformation program to be, is like Julissa said before, the last program that you'll ever need, because it just becomes a part of who you are and what you do.
Yeah.
I will finish out with this. This feels almost like a motivational one too. Is one big epiphany I've had, or realization, is once you realize it's going to be challenging, then you start learning to enjoy the challenge, right? Once you can start to enjoy the process, and we're using a lot of cliche things here, fall in love with the process. It's true though. Like, that's the reason you hear so many of these things over and over. Once you fall in love with the process of challenging yourself mentally, physically, whatever it might be, that's where you honestly start to distract yourself from the end goal. You'll get to the end goal, but if you are constantly thinking about the end goal, you're missing all the opportunities that you can be grateful for in the process, and actually seeing how you're growing and how you've developed. And that's why when we coach people, we're not just looking at weight. We're not just looking at the physical transformation. We're asking, how do you feel mentally now? How have you transformed? What are other people saying about you? How are your relationships? Do you have more purpose in life? Right? There's a lot of objective and subjective measurements we do, because we know it's so important to start to realize the journey is what's causing you to grow. There's a refinement in the journey, and that makes the outcome, the summit of this climb, so much more enjoyable. You can actually appreciate it, right? I think of, if you're doing a hike, to fully appreciate the summit, you got to go through the rocks. You got to take a couple wrong turns, because then you have a story with it too. You've grown. Where if you just take a helicopter up, yes, you're going to enjoy the summit, but you're not going to appreciate everything it took to get to the top. So thanks for bearing with me as I went through all my analogies today. We went from Saskatchewan to the mountain Rocky Range. We're good.
Come full circle.
Anyone finish out with some sort of action item or tip before we go?
Number one, find someone that can help you set realistic expectations so that you don't feel like you got to quit all the time.
Yep.
And number two, just stop quitting. That's all.
Gotta bring the ocean into it.
Stop it.
The sea never made a skilled sailor. That's bringing the ocean into it. There you go.
Can you say that again, Tom?
A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor.
Love it. And a boat or a ship was never made to sit in the harbor or something like that.
We're really full of that today. So much wisdom.
There's no such thing as failing if you can't learn from it, right? If you fail, it's only true failure if you can't learn from it, which is rarely the case.
There you go.
Okay. Thanks for joining, everyone.